You're in the shower, the water running, your mind somewhere else, and a song starts playing. You didn't choose it. There's no radio, no phone, no speaker, and you might not even like the song. But there it is, note for note, looping. Here's the part worth sitting with. Nothing is actually making a sound. No air is moving. The music is your own mind, performing for an audience of one on a loop you cannot switch off. Where it comes from, why it won't stop, and the oddly physical trick that can break it. That's what's coming. The technical name is involuntary musical imagery, and almost everyone gets it. In large surveys, around 90% of people report a song stuck in their head at least once a week. The Germans got there first, with a blunt and faintly disturbing word. Ohrwurm. Earworm. Most episodes aren't the whole song. They're a fragment, usually the chorus, 15 to 30 seconds, running on repeat. And most of the time it's harmless. People rate the experience as neutral or even pleasant more often than annoying. Which raises an obvious question. If it's harmless, why does it feel impossible to evict? Hold on to that, because the thing that reliably interrupts an earworm has nothing to do with your ears and everything to do with your jaw. Here's the explanation almost everyone reaches for first. The song loops because it's unfinished, and your brain wants to complete it, an itch it has to scratch. It's a tidy idea, and it has a real name behind it, the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency for interrupted tasks to stay active in the mind longer than finished ones. The logic is clean. The evidence is messier. In 2013, a team led by psychologist Ira Hyman tested it head-on, playing people complete songs against cut-off, incomplete ones to see whether the unfinished versions stuck more. They didn't. Two later experiments, one by McCullough Campbell and Elizabeth Margulis in 2015, another by Killingly and colleagues in 2021, went looking again and found the same nothing. Cutting a song off partway through didn't reliably make it stickier. The specific prediction the theory made just didn't hold up. And anyone who has had Baby Shark lodged in their skull for a full afternoon knows the limit of the unfinished business idea. That song has no unfinished business. So if it isn't about closure, what actually makes a tune sticky? In 2016, Kelly Jakubowski and colleagues at Goldsmiths, University of London, took 3,000 people's most named earworms and set 100 of them against 100 matched songs nobody named. Same artists, similar chart runs, across more than 80 features of the melody. Three things stood out. The sticky songs were faster. They had a common, almost generic melodic shape, the same rise-then-fall arc you hear in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And against that familiar backbone, they had one or two unusual leaps, an interval the ear doesn't quite expect. Familiar enough to hum without trying, strange enough to stand out. Jakubowski described the result as a kind of private musical screensaver, a melody your brain idles on. Bad Romance, Don't Stop Believin', Can't Get You Out of My Head. Now notice what your mind is doing while that fragment plays. It feels like hearing. It isn't quite. The leading interpretation points to something more active. An earworm is closer to silent singing than to silent listening. The same inner voice you use to rehearse a phone number or read a sign without speaking, psychologists call it the phonological loop, is quietly mouthing the tune, with no sound and no sense that you're the one doing it. That's the unsettling part. You're not a radio catching a signal. You're the performer. You've just lost the awareness that you're performing. The loop isn't playing at you, it's playing through you. This is not a new torment. In February of 1876, Mark Twain published a short piece in The Atlantic about exactly this. He'd come across a scrap of doggerel in the newspaper, a jingle built, of all things, from streetcar fare instructions. Punch, brothers, punch with care. In his words, it took instant and entire possession of him. He sat down to write a tragic novel and produced only the jingle. He lost track of whether he'd eaten breakfast. He walked downtown and caught his own feet keeping time to it. And the cure he finally stumbled onto was darker than the disease. He recited the rhyme to a friend, a clergyman, and felt it leave his head the instant it lodged in the other man's. The Reverend, last anyone saw, was busy passing it to a room full of unsuspecting university students. Richard Dawkins would later hold up Twain's jingle as one of the first clear descriptions of a meme, an idea that survives by leaping from one mind to the next. So, back to your jaw. If an earworm really is your inner voice singing, then jamming that voice should quiet it, which is exactly what a 2015 study set out to test. Colleagues at the University of Reading had people get a song stuck, payphone, play hard, the usual suspects, and then chew gum. Across 3 experiments, the gum chewers reported fewer earworms and a fainter sense of actually hearing the tune. Not because chewing is distracting in general, a separate condition ruled that out, but because chewing borrows the very machinery your mind uses to mouth a melody silently. You can't sing along in your head, even by accident, while your mouth is busy with something else. It's a small effect in a lab, not a magic off switch, but it points straight back at the mechanism. The loop runs on your motor system, not your memory alone, which leaves the real mystery untouched. We can predict which songs stick. We can describe what the loop is made of. What we still can't explain is the moment it starts. Earworms tend to surface when the mind is wandering and underoccupied, the shower, the commute, the dishes. But Hyman's team found they also spike under heavy mental load, when the brain should have no spare room for a tune at all. Low and high, both ends, with a confusing valley in between. The honest summary is that the trigger remains, in large part, unknown. Step back, and the strangeness sharpens. A good deal of your mental life isn't aimed at anything in particular. It drifts, free associates, idles. An earworm is just that idle made audible. It's your mind off the leash, reaching for the most rehearsed, most automatic thing it has lying around, and closing its hand around a chorus. So the next time you're standing in the shower, hands busy, mind nowhere in particular, and a song you never picked starts up note for note, that isn't a glitch. That's the sound of a brain with nothing to do but sing to itself. And of all the songs you know, it chose that one, for reasons it still hasn't told anyone.